lads, welcome back to another video, and this one is going to be the best players from each Scottish Championship team once again, in my opinion. The video for last week, that was a sort of in my opinion video of my top 3 away grounds within the SPFL, and my worst 3 went down a storm, by the way. I wasn't expecting that type of reaction. Over 13,000 views, crazy stuff. So let's give it a go again. Not expecting that same amount of views, but you clearly like this type of video. I'll be bringing out the Scottish Premiership version tomorrow as the second upload on Sunday. So look out for that one when it comes, but for now, it's the Scottish Championship. And we're starting off at the top with Dundee United. I think it's fair to say that we all know who I'm going to pick here. It's probably the most obvious pick in the full entire league, except for maybe 1 or 2 other teams that are pretty obvious picks as well, but this one is pretty clear cut because of the amount of goals the guy's scored and the sheer consistency and quality that he's shown in the last 2 or 3 seasons with both Ayr and Dundee United. Obviously, it's Lawrence Shankland. The guy is a goal scoring machine. There is nothing else that can be said about this guy that hasn't already been said by someone within the footballing world. He's fantastic. He's destined for big things in my opinion. I think he'll go on to score a decent amount of goals in the Premiership with Dundee United and then move on eventually in his career and get a decent move somewhere and probably score there as well, because he just seems to have that knack on being able to know how to score goals now. And that's the most important thing as a striker, isn't it? Being able to score those goals at the most important times in games, and Lawrence Shankland's definitely got the knack of doing that now. He's now scored, I know when he moved from Ayr it was something like 60 goals in about 60 games, so it'll be around about the same sort of ratio in terms of games played to goals scored now. Crazy, and that's why Lawrence Shankland is the best player at Dundee United in my opinion. Moving on to Inverness. Now this is a bit of a tough one of the more tougher ones in the league, because I don't think they're a team that's got absolute standout players, not ones that are like a Lawrence Shankland where it's like, aye, he's definitely the best player at that club. So I've went for the goalkeeper, Mark Richards, simply because he's kept a lot of clean sheets this season, and Inverness are right up there in sort of second place. Obviously they ended up finishing there when the season was prematurely ended, and that was largely down to the amount of clean sheets they were able to keep, and Mark Richards had a massive part to play in that. I went for Mark Richards. Do you agree with me? It's a bit of a difficult one because, as I said, there just wasn't a specific standout player for me, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Moving on to Ayr United now, and once again this was one that was hard, but it was mainly because there is a few standout players for Ayr, and it was just about me really deciding which one I actually thought was the best player at the club. Daniel Harvey has been the one that I've been kind of to and fro with between him and Alan Forrest, and the only reason I'm going to go for the one I've went for is because I did include him in the top 5 players in the Championship and the full entire league, so it would be a bit contradictory of me not to pick him as the best player at his club. So for Ayr United, in my opinion, the best player there is Alan Forrest. Now I've seen a lot of Ayr fans claim that obviously Forrest maybe isn't the best team player, etc, and I have seen that Daniel Harvey, I think, won Ayr United's Player of the Year, or at least he was being highly considered for it, and there's absolutely no doubt that Daniel Harvey is a cracking player. I've learnt that in the last few weeks after putting a Team of the Year sort of thing up on Twitter, and a lot of people were saying that Daniel Harvey should have been involved in that, so I take that on board, and I was wrong on that front, but I do still think that Alan Forrest is the best player at Ayr United. Next up is Dundee, and again this is sort of a harder one. I would have to go based on the calibre of player and where he's been in previous times, so I went for Graham Dorrans. Now he's obviously sitting midfielder, scored in the derby that I was at Tannadice, the 1-1 draw, and he has come in for Dundee and done a decent job in the midfield and definitely added a different dimension to their midfield that's allowed them to eventually gain a bit of form in the second half of the season, so I went for him. There was different shouts for players like Paul McGowan, Kane Hemmings, etc. I definitely wouldn't have went for Kane Hemmings because I just don't rate him as much as a player, but Paul McGowan was definitely a decent shout, and most importantly, a baller according to this, but I did go for Graham Dorrans in the end. Again, it's another one that you can let me know what you think in the comments below, because I don't think it was the easiest one to pick a certain player from. Next up is Arbroath, the absolute underdogs of this entire season. At the start of the season, I went on the BBC for a wee short clip of predictions and stuff like that, and I said that the sort of underdogs of this season, the surprise package, would be Arbroath, and that they would surprise a lot of people. I think I'll have to say Arbroath, because I think a lot of people will kind of underestimate them just because they're the part-time team or one of them. And I did expect them to do that, obviously, because I did say it, but I didn't expect it at the level that they have. They've ended up finishing above Dunfermline on the points per game ratio that the season was decided from, and it just goes to show the job that Dick Campbell's done there. And this player, that is the best player at their club in my opinion, had a big part to play in that, and he's just signed a new deal. I think you all know by now, it's Thomas O'Brien, the centre half for Arbroath. Now I know, sorry, I missed out Bobby Lynn, but sometimes you just have to admit that a player is better than another. I'm really sorry, Bobby, you're still the best bin man in the land, in my opinion. An extremely impressive player that has allowed Arbroath to have a fantastic defensive record this season, and Tam O'Brien is a fantastic level of player for the Championship, and as I said, a lot of clubs would have wanted him, especially fans of these clubs. They were all really kind of shocked when that news came out that Tam O'Brien had signed a new, I think, 3-year deal at Arbroath, so for them to get him tied up for that length of time is extremely impressive. And now onto Dunfermline. Now, I think this is probably, again, one of the easier ones in the league. There is good players at our club, but I think there's only one standout for this season, and you'll all know who I'm away to say. It's that man, Tom Lang. Kidding him. Obviously it's Kevin Nisbet. The guy is an absolute hero. He's just a fantastic talent, and he's been a class above since he come in. He did go through a bit of a barren patch sort of after the Betfred Cup period and didn't really score. Once kind of, I think, late October into November and onwards went in, he just kept scoring goal after goal, and they were better quality as the season went on. Ended up scoring, I think it was 23 goals, and he was right up there challenging Lawrence Shanklin for the top goal scorer. If the season had continued, of course, we'll never know. Kevin Nisbet, fantastic football player, never mind goal scorer. I'll be gutted when he eventually goes, because I do think it's going to happen, but there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that he is the best player at Dunfermline Athletic. Sorry to Tom Lang. And now, Greenock Morton. I've went for the only player that I possibly could have, Nicky Cadden. I had him included in the top 5 players in the Championship for the full season, so a bit like Alan Forrest, I couldn't not choose him as the best player at his own club. Nicky Cadden for me, a baller within the game of Scottish football, and Morton are very lucky to have a player of that calibre. I think he will eventually get a move to a bigger club, but he has stated that he wants to stay at Morton if the chance is there for him to stay there, so if he does, I'll be very jealous of Greenock Morton Football Club, put it that way. Next up on the list is Alloa Athletic, and once again one that a few people had different opinions on when I asked it on my Instagram stories the other day. I put up different polls to obviously ask who you thought the best player was at each individual club, and for Alloa there was a lot of Alan Troughtons, Kevin O'Hara's, etc, etc, a few Andy Grahams as well, but I ended up going with Ian Flanagan, who a lot of people did actually say in that Instagram stories poll as well. I just think Ian Flanagan is a top quality midfielder for the Championship and has proven his worth at Alloa for years now. I think he's been there about 5 years, and it just goes to show the level of consistency that he's continuously performed at. He's been kept on by every manager that's come into Alloa, and there has been a good few in that time period, and they've all kept him on because they just know how good a quality player Ian Flanagan is, and the fact that he's shown such commitment to Alloa and never left for any full-time team. Of course, it's got a lot to do with the fact that he does have a full-time job outside of football, but players can get swayed, and Ian Flanagan certainly hasn't been one of them. He's continually showed his class, and he would be a player that I would really like at my club if it could ever happen one day. I really hope it can, but for now, Ian Flanagan, in my opinion, will stay at Alloa Athletic and be their best player. Second last, we're going to Queen of the South. Now, this was a very easy one because really their squad has been the sort of worst in the league in my opinion this season. I don't think there's been many standouts at all for Queen of the South this season, and I've ultimately just went with the obvious, Stephen Dobbie. He might not have scored the same amount of goals that he has in the last few seasons, but I think he did get into double figures, which just goes to show that he's still got a wee bit of quality left in him, despite this being his poorest season in quite some time. I think Stephen Dobbie has probably seen the last of his best days, but who's to say that he will only come in next season and score maybe 15 to 20 goals? Who knows? For this season, he's been the best of a bad bunch in my opinion. And last up, Partick Thistle. Another kind of more difficult one because there wasn't a hell of a lot of standout players, but in my opinion it comes down to Rhys Cole or James Penrice. And ultimately, I've went with the player that's been at Partick Thistle for longer and has just been a consistent performer. So I've went for James Penrice, literally, as I say, just because of that longevity factor and the consistency that he's been able to show. He's played pretty much every minute in the last 2 seasons for Partick Thistle and has been a relative standout for them in those seasons despite them being down the bottom end of the leagues. So I chose him as the best player at Partick Thistle in my opinion. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with that one. I'm assuming a lot of you might pick Rhys Cole because he is one of those ballers. A baller! But you can let me know. And that's it for this video guys. Cheers for watching. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like, comment down below your thoughts on the players that I've mentioned. Are they the best players at that club? List every player that you think is the best player at their respective clubs down below. Subscribe for more of this type of content, and until the next video, I'll see you then. Cheers guys.